You're listening to The Disc Golf Show.
That's right. You are listening to The Disc Golf Show. This is episode number 10, and it is brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their 2 locations in California, one in Orangeville, one in Rockland. And support local. You should. It's the right thing to do. Do it. Do it. My name is Justin with a beautiful cold that you can probably hear. And with me today is...
I'm Nick. That's me.
That's very good.
All right.
That's very
I was
good.
on it.
You were on it.
Totally on it. All right. So you know what? Listen.
Okay.
Listen. We have a couple big events that we are going to talk about, but I want to get some stuff out of the way. Okay.
All right.
Couple things.
Some upfront matter.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Upfront matter. Exactly. Quick things. Shout out to Adam Hammis. He just started his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I shared that on our socials and all that good stuff, and he said thanks, which was awesome. Check him out because he's a funny guy, and he's a really good disc golfer. So.
Yeah, check him out.
Also, on the YouTube note, there's a channel called We Make Machines.
Really? What do they do, Nick?
I mean, they make
machines.
Make
okay.
machines.
All right.
Yeah. So, but this time, which was cool,
really cool.
And don't get me wrong, there have been other people that have done this in the past.
Yes.
But this is specifically on this channel that is really detail oriented with how they create their machines.
Yes.
Right.
Very
they go
much
into
the mechanical engineering side of the stuff, which is really for us, geeks out there.
Super interesting.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Super nerds.
So they made, guess what? A disc throwing machine.
Yeah.
And watch it.
Yes.
The title, if you watch it, and we shared that as well, but if you go to the channel, is We Make Machines. It's one of their most recent ones, and it's called World's Fastest Frisbee Launcher. So go check it out. Really, really fun watch.
It does not disappoint, and they go through many different iterations to get it to the point, which I find fascinating. It took them so long to replicate on machine to get it to the point where it can just do what your arm naturally does.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they surpassed it. Of course.
Yeah.
Watch the video. Watch it to the end to find out how far it went.
It's pretty impressive. Do they or do they not get to that 4-digit distance?
You'll have to watch and see.
Go check it out.
Yep.
Another, I guess YouTube notation here is Drew Gibson had a recent video up where he sat down. He does those every now and then. He does those opinion videos. He discussed a bunch of very topical things, but very important things when it comes to a lot of things
that we talked about on our show.
Exactly. And this is coming from a pro who is out there
experiencing
weekly.
It firsthand.
Yeah. He goes over several things, and I've also kind of heard something about him possibly throwing his hat in the ring for the PDGA committee.
Oh, okay.
I don't quote me on that, but I
think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, because he was saying something to the effect of like, well, if you're going to talk it, then maybe you should do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I swear he said something.
Where your mouth is kind
so
of deal.
He's saying that he might try to do something like
awesome.
that.
I think his points on most of the video I agree with. There's only one little tiny thing that I was like, yes, and on.
Yes.
He talked about, the safety stuff that we've talked about, the tee pads, they can't be, soaking wet and plywood and all this kind of stuff. And I totally agree. The thing that I didn't know or I didn't realize is because we've seen a lot of like spit outs from the baskets. And I'm like, wow, that's unfortunate. He was saying in some of the events, they configured the baskets incorrectly. Yeah. They built them incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm in total agreement. If we're at a point that we're having a professional tour, an organization, we're trying to up the level of professionalism in the sport, especially when we're talking about filming it and growing it that way, and we're having these official tours, right? These are little things that are little, but they're huge at the same time. If that makes sense. You cannot afford to be configuring your baskets incorrectly. That's like not drilling the holes in golf correctly, right?
Yep.
Come on. How amateur does that make you look? Like, I didn't even realize that they were configuring them wrong.
Yeah.
That's a huge issue.
Yeah, it was how deep the chains hung
went, and
in the basket.
He did a good service to it too. He showed the difference.
Yep. Oh,
and
yeah.
You can totally tell if it's not down far enough, those extra links, right? It doesn't provide the chains enough, width, I guess, around the circumference of the bottom of the basket
inside
to stop the disc from popping back out.
Exactly.
Which is the total reason that the chains are that length and they're built a certain way.
Yep.
And it is a disservice to dynamic discs because they were using their baskets. So what message does that send, right?
Yeah.
And the people that don't know any better, that don't know they're configured incorrectly, are going to badmouth that company, and it puts a black mar or stains the image of that company unfairly. That's not fair. They built it incorrectly. That's on whoever set that up for the tour.
Oh yeah.
Right. Ultimately, I think it comes down to blaming that TD, but
yeah, and with how I think there are still tweaks that can be made.
Yeah.
To the baskets and how the chain is collected at the bottom in a way that's not going to be so different between baskets.
Right.
I think maybe obviously you want the chains to be able to move and float with that bottom ring where they collect. But I was thinking you could even have a chain inside from that ring to the pole to hold it in place, kind of with some movement, so that there's actually, you know what I mean? There's because here's the thing, there were some spit outs in some of these events recently. Yeah. And one of the things it looked like to me, I don't know if this is what it was or not, but when the disc came in and hits that ring is a solid piece. It's not like a chain where it gives.
Yes.
And that ring, if it hits right, when it hits and swings back, it looks like that might be the thing that's actually kicking the disc back out.
It could be. It'd be interesting to see if we could get any kind of footage of discs coming in at that angle.
There's a couple recently.
To see where it's hitting. Is it hitting on that? And is it the chains that are done properly or not? Like that. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Is it configured correctly, and is it bouncing off of that ring and popping back off? Is that the issue, or is it they're not configured correctly and not enough chains so that the chains don't swoop down enough to catch the bounce back?
Yeah, it's. I think it's that collecting mechanism at the bottom that has some room for improvement.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, go check out.
Not an engineer.
Yeah, go check out Drew's channel. Go subscribe.
Absolutely. One thing
listen to that for sure.
That I want to say though is towards the end, he mentions the app that they're using right now, the PDGA app, is a downgrade from the previous UDisc, right?
Yep.
That the people and it shows in that people that are playing casual rounds, including pros, are still using the UDisc app.
Yeah.
Because the PDGA one sucks, right?
Comparatively,
Comparatively, it is a downgrade. And he's saying what he said was, if we're going to be changing up tools, we need to be changing to something better. It needs to get better. It needs to be improving. I somewhat agree. Yes, it should be improving, but it should at least maintain the quality that you had from the previous tool.
I think that's kind of what he was going
to
for.
A new tool, same or better.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be better, but it better be the same.
It shouldn't be
worse.
Yeah.
That should be a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if that's the case and it's not better and you need time for it to get there, then don't officially change to it yet.
Yeah.
Put it in a beta or something.
Yeah, exactly. Make an interim deal with UDisc until you get to that point where you can be like, listen, we have something that's sufficient or good enough or better.
Yeah.
Not something that's a downgrade. And like he said something about the cut line didn't even work until this last event.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of a obvious thing that you drop in there, I would think. But again, I'm not behind the scenes on that. So,
Yeah.
Moving on, we have there's a company called Fluent Disc Sport. Contacted them because I did across my feed. I see, obviously I'm on there quite a bit, looking at different stuff. Yeah.
I think it's cold to mess with my ears. I thought I heard you say across my feet.
No, feed. So they created this thing called the Disc Golf Discovery Zones with Scott Stokely. So Scott's been still active, even though he's been off right now because of he's recovering and everything like that.
Good luck to you. Dealing with you get better soon.
Yeah, dealing with some illness and stuff.
Yep.
But it's interesting because it's not just like a 9-hole course with 200-foot holes, 250. Okay. It's not like a pitch and putt. It's much more skills based courses.
Okay.
So it's really interesting. If you go to fluentdisc.com, so FLUENTDISC.com, you can look at their disc golf course design and build section, and there's a disc golf discovery zone. Go check that out because it's actually a really, really good idea for introducing, especially with limited spaces, because these zones are more for just a putting basket up to like 6 holes.
All right.
So it's very, very more directed to perfecting your skills versus course playing.
Right.
So it's a really, really, it was really interesting to look through and read a bit, and big shout out to them for innovation in this part of the sport. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's good for those properties that are small, like maybe city properties or parks and stuff like that.
Right.
Where you got to squeeze something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you want to get some notice there. And go check them out. Fluent Disc Sport. Another thing is congratulations to James and Emily Proctor.
Yeah.
They just got married.
That's awesome.
So big shout out to them. So congratulations on your journey. Another thing, I did want to do a shout out here. Now, check out the video that came out before this.
Okay.
Justin has completely started from scratch on his disc golf process and form. So he's starting a series.
Yeah, I would say.
Right?
Yeah.
Where he's starting over and he's trying to correct any issues with his form and all that stuff to get better in disc golf, and just like all of us.
My whole form is terrible.
But
you saw the first episode. So.
But yeah, so he's got a tech disc.
Tech disc, yep.
To get the data down, to perfect that portion, get more analysis on his process.
I do. And
yes,
here's an announcement too that I think but I was asking on the first video what method do you guys think I should use, and should I reach out and get a coach? And I did reach out and get a coach. Check out Ken Putt, KenPutt on Instagram, or I'll leave a link in the show notes too.
I think we know him.
We do know him. He's in our fantasy league. So he reached out and he's like, "Hey, I heard you're looking for a coach. I happen to provide that service." And I'm like, "That's even better. Somebody that we know. I'd rather support, somebody that I know." So I'm going to be getting some coaching. I am getting some coaching from Ken. It's Ken Ulosis. And I'll leave, like I said, his website down below if you guys want to go there and sign up for coaching yourself. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to start there. I did a couple of different videos. There'll be a new video coming here soon once I get stuff together and work through the process and make improvements, hopefully, that I can show you. And I don't know if you can tell, but I've been held back recently because I got a cold, so I haven't really had the energy to get back out there and apply some of the things that Ken said I'm doing wrong. And surprisingly, I was doing like 1 or 2 things right.
There's always something.
Yeah, I was playing
something right.
I was playing disc golf. That's what I got right. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I'm starting.
Exactly.
I was holding a disc, not correctly, but I was holding a disc. And that's all that matters. So I'm excited about that. I think it'll be kind of cool.
Heck yeah.
Right? Like, hey, look, I am not very good. I don't have very good form, but hey, with some coaching, this is what you can do. Right? Will I get better?
You will.
Let's see.
You will.
Let's see.
And it'll probably come back pretty quick for you compared to the first time you tried.
I thought it was a good opportunity.
So, yeah.
It's like, I understand the basics. I'm just not performing them very well.
Well, I think that'll be an interesting thing too. How quickly you'll be able to learn and get back to versus how long it took you to get there in the first place.
It took me a long time to get to where I was before I just stopped playing altogether. So it'll be interesting.
So, okay, one last thing before we get into the tournaments. Not on here, but I did remember it. You're right there.
I'm good.
So I just saw a clip of Tour Life. I know I always reference Tour Life, right? Yeah. But because I like the show. It's a good podcast. Brody and Yuli.
Can I
it's great.
Can I admit something?
Yeah, sure.
I've yet to watch a single episode of this
show. You got to check him out.
I do.
Oh, you know Brody, he's very outgoing, very,
I've seen like clips.
Yeah.
Like I'll see like little shorts and stuff. I'll like watch those and it does look interesting.
And Yuli has that.
Never remember.
Has that history.
Yes. Yeah. You know? Well, yeah.
But it was funny. Yeah. So one of the things that Yuli said was, listen, these guys who learn to drive, right? Super far, like AB and stuff like that. He goes, that's a learned part of your game, right? And he says, well, he goes, I'm tired of hearing people talk about spit outs. He goes, you're putting 100 miles an hour at the basket when you're inside the circle. Like, he's not like,
I see what he's saying.
Pointing people and saying like Burr does. He rockets that thing in there, right? Yeah. There are definitely many pro disc golfers that still putt hard even when they're close.
Yeah.
And he goes, for him, learn touch. He goes, that's another learned part of your game.
Sure.
It's another good thing to learn. He goes, I have yet to have a direct spit out off the pole in the past, I think he said 3 years.
Wow.
He's had like clips, obviously, and stuff like that, but ones that went straight and coming straight back out. Yeah. He goes, it's like, and right now my stats kind of tell that story for me.
Right.
Because he's like up there in putting.
Right.
So big shout out to you. I like seeing the pros
weigh in.
Like get at not in an aggressive manner, but like get at the other players for complaining. Like just play your game and learn different ways to do these things.
I agree. I agree to a certain extent. Like, hey, if you're bouncing straight back out off the pole, why are you putting so hard?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't require that. But so I kind of agree with him.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of interesting. But.
All right. So we had 2 events since our last show. We had the first one that we will get into is the first major mixed major of the year, which is Champions Cup. There was both obviously the mixed and the female divisions.
Yep.
Listen, we're just gonna get into it again. Okay. This one's gonna be quick. Now the other event, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Like you probably saw.
There's scratch writing all over my paper, so I want to get into it too.
So here's the thing. I don't care if you're staff or not. There shouldn't be people watching, people whatever in the middle of the fairway. There should not be anybody in the middle of the fairway on any hole that there are actual players on.
What do you mean?
Like, dude, I saw multiple times where there was just, whether it was, now, obviously, if you're staff, you're going to be somewhere around there. If you're either taking scoring, if you're videoing, if you're commentating, I get that. Totally get that, right? Yeah. But those people know better, and they know, and they stay like tucked back, either behind the card or off, way up, away from.
Are you talking about like the people that are following? Like,
dude,
the card?
there was a couple times where it looked like it was just somebody who was there watching, and this is Northwoods. This was on a very wooded course.
Yeah,
mostly wooded. So I get that people still want to try to get in, but dude, do not stand in the fairway. Like they were literally, I don't know exactly who the person was, but I saw it a couple times where they were on the freaking fairway.
No, unacceptable.
Like you don't need to be that close.
The officials or the TD or whoever needs to get in there and remove that person from the course.
That bugs me.
They are playing an official tournament. You should not be on the fairway.
Yeah.
And 2, for your own safety, you should not be on the fairway.
Exactly.
So no, in total agreement.
Also, there was a to-do about one of the pros making a tweet. This was, and I'm sure you've seen discussion about this, and as much as I'm listen, I understand the thought of the comment that was made.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with how it was portrayed.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the right way to.
You're talking about Austin Hannum?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So listen. Everybody knows where I fall on the whole FPO division, right? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That out of the way. When you're talking about being late to your tee by 12 seconds, I'm sorry. It's only 12 seconds. I totally get it. However, there is a rule that is in place for every participant. And it's on you to follow those rules.
And you have to draw the lines.
You
somewhere,
have to.
right?
You can't let it move one way or the other, because then everybody's going to just abuse it.
Like I had, a teacher very early on. I think it was in high school. I can't remember what year, but it was a chemistry teacher. And he broke it down. He's like, look, you have to draw a line somewhere, right? When you're late. And if I flex it for someone, it's got to flex for everybody. And then how much do I flex that? Is 5 seconds okay? Is 12 seconds okay? Is a minute okay? Right? Now we get into this gray area. No, there has to be a black and white line. If you're past this point, everybody will be late, no matter if it's 0.5 of a second or 12 seconds. Doesn't matter, right? He's like, if you're not in my room by the time that last bell stops, you are late. And if your foot is outside the door that much, all I'm saying is I want you to be that much faster. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the line.
It's on you.
Yeah, and it's on you.
Exactly.
And the comparison that this person makes,
it's
not the same.
No.
You're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, exactly.
I get your point.
Yeah.
But wrong use.
Exactly.
Not applicable here.
So the other thing too is that, listen, guys, the other thing is the fact that everybody jumps on him. Listen, he doesn't need to be jumped on. He already had a bad round, obviously. He already got stroked for being late, obviously. Just let it go, because then all you're doing is giving more energy and what's the word I'm looking for? Like more, like you're giving it more validity.
Right. Yeah.
By commenting on it. Like, just let it go.
Sure. Yep.
And then again,
it's trying to win favor.
I'll let it go, because I could get into the other side.
I think it's trying to win favor. And like, oh, look, these people agree with this certain thing, so they'll agree with me now that it was wrong that I got. No.
Yeah, exactly. So,
wrong.
Yes, it's a funky rule. I'm sure that there's already been a bunch of talk about possibly maybe dropping it to like 3 minutes or maybe 2 minutes, because a lot of the players want to be going practice putting in that time. They don't want to sit watching the card in front of them tee off for 5 minutes. Like, they just don't want to do that. And I get that. But right now, at this point in time,
that's the rules.
The rule is 5 minutes. If you're not there, sorry.
Yep.
One event, make it up on the next event.
Yep. So Eagle, how'd he do?
Hey, that boy. Okay, so there's two things here that I want to say. One is, per our previous episode, where I was like, listen, maybe have something other than a major be your first event back, so that you can warm up to the process of playing in an event, because there are different pressures and stresses that are on you when you're playing in a tournament. So whether or not he's a pro, which he is, whether or not he's been in that situation, which he has, all those aside, maybe, like I said before, dial it back to 75% game, power, whatever, and get that feel back for playing in a tournament, especially big events like this. A tour event's a big event. It doesn't have to be a major. You know, you can still protect yourself in the tour event.
Well, Nick, I would say that, playing devil's advocate here, but I would say that I don't know if you could simulate the experience of playing in a major without playing in a major.
No, you can't. You can't. Totally agree.
True.
However, at least it's the mindset of being in a tournament of that caliber or near that caliber, right? So obviously he did not do well. He did not do well at all. But
you know what? A lot of the pros this year that were supposedly very hot last year, have taken a while to warm up in.
Oh yeah. And the other thing I do want to say on the other side of it, listen, hey, again, I'm not trying to knock him. I want to see Eagle out there.
Absolutely.
I want to see him at his best.
He's one of my favorite
I don't
players.
want him. Yeah, I don't want him to come out unprepared or too soon. However, again, we talked about this last episode. There's a period in which you've just got to commit and you got to make that step. And I think personally, he made it one event too late. Yeah. But I do hope to see him at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he'll get there.
Yeah.
I think he'll get there. I mean, his game wasn't that great, but it wasn't. Okay, it was bad. Never mind.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Dude. Yeah.
Horrible.
But so first mixed major.
Yes.
Who won?
That would be
who won? Okay, we'll do FPO Open? First.
FPO?
Yeah.
Evelina Salonen, which was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
It's been how many days? It was like 1,100 days or something like that. Over 1,000 days since her last major.
Yeah.
So it was super awesome to see her win.
Yeah.
It was super awesome.
Yeah, well deserved. Too.
Yeah.
She was playing like
solid, dude.
Too.
And hey, we talked about this before. If Evelina's putting game is on, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. And it was definitely on for this tournament.
Really cool.
Was sinking some stuff.
And then as for mixed,
Andrew Presnell.
Yep.
Interesting.
The Prez, yeah.
Interesting.
Out of nowhere.
I didn't see that coming
out of
all.
nowhere. Yeah. Just, I mean, it was such a solid game for him.
Yeah.
Like there was no wavering. Everybody has their ups and downs throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
But he was so overall consistent. And I think that's what got him the victory.
That's what got him the win there.
Big shout out to Presnell.
And congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to just this last weekend's event.
Yes.
That is DDO.
Yes.
So 2024, obviously 2024 Dynamic Discs Open.
You're so angry.
So there's a bunch of stuff that happened at this event.
Yes.
There's a bunch of stuff, controversies, yada yada, discussions that have happened.
I don't know if it was controversies. I think
I'll
people
get you
were
there.
making it into controversies.
I'll get you there.
Yeah.
Firstly, I don't think anybody's been talking about this. I want to make a statement right now. I want to hear more Sarah Hokum and Big Germ in the booth.
They were good. Yeah.
Sarah was amazing.
Yeah. Really good.
Really good.
Really good.
Loved her opinions and outlook on the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. There was a point where like
a staple. I think Sarah needs to be in the booth.
What makes it
when
cool,
she doesn't want to play.
Well, right. What makes it cool is that perspective, right? Like when from like what a player would be thinking during certain things or what a player should be doing. Obviously, she has that experience level of being right there in it to know. Like
she's a major winner. She knows all those feelings.
Absolutely. Like when King just scuffs this putt that was inside circle one, and you could tell it affected her. Right, she was not happy, and Sarah's like, "Hey, she needs to shake that, let it go, let it go." Don't snowball, right? She knows where that's going to go. You can see it in her face. Like she needs to let that go. And she did. But I just love that like perspective that she brings to the game. Like right there, she's pointing out, oh, right here, she needs to let that go. And if she doesn't, this could get bad. It just really adds like another element. You're like, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
You know, like, and now you're even more invested in watching like, ooh, it's like a soap opera almost.
Well, to be honest with you, she was, to me, a natural in the booth too. It wasn't it was like awkward at all or anything like that. She was just she knows her stuff.
Absolutely.
So big shout out to no worries, man. I hope you feel better. Big shout out to Sarah Hokum. I hope we see you in the booth more. And of course, Big Germ, he does the post coverage commentary with Jomez.
Yeah.
But this was, I think, one of his first times in the booth for live.
Yeah.
And again, Germ's got so many stories, man. It's so fun to hear them. He's very entertaining, and he did a great job as well. So big shout out.
I enjoy his singing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. I remember. Yeah. Oh yeah. We caught that. We caught that. Another person that I want to shout out is Lisa Ficus.
Yes.
Ficus. I always say Ficus.
It's Ficus.
It's Ficus. Yes. Lisa Ficus. Super solid game. I think the only aspect that she can even improve on, at least at this event, is distance. That's it.
She has the capability, though.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple of holes where she was like, "Wow, she's right there with everybody else." And that was a smash. You know?
But I think
it's not consistent, though.
Yeah, I think her distance, if she can just improve her distance by 50 feet,
absolutely,
right? Then but she was in it all the way up until I want to say 3 holes left,
probably
something like that.
That's where like the big change.
No, 2 holes. I want to say 2 holes left.
2?
Yeah, because she made the island and made a putt on 16.
Oh, she did. You're right.
In the final round,
because the last 2.
Yeah.
The stuff started turning around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it was they went into the final round in the FBO with, I think it was like a 3 or a 4-way tie.
Yeah, something like that.
They started off that way, and it really it kept going pretty much back and forth almost all the way to the end. And then really cool part about the end is we finally got to see him go into playoffs with that new rule.
With that new, exactly.
Which was really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And it happened because I think leading up to 17, it was pretty much King.
King having
like just that
had
1 point
it under
lead,
control,
right? Just kind of going back and forth with.
But I think she had 2
Gannon
after 17.
Yeah, but then I think it was an OB.
It was listen. Yeah, when it comes to King, like she's got a great game, but she definitely, like you were saying earlier with Sarah, she lets things get to her too easily, and not easily like your average easily. Right. But it gets to her easier than a lot of other.
She was going strong
competitors
until about hole 6, I want to say.
Yeah.
She had that early kind of right off the bat lead, right? And then all of a sudden, she's kind of slipping a little bit, and then tied it right back up at like hole 14, and then just that battle kind of back and forth.
She was shaking it off, right?
Yeah.
And getting back into it and forgetting the bad shots. She was.
Right.
But man, that ending was tough. Before we get there, there's another player I want to shout out. Emily Weatherman. Yeah. So out of nowhere, and I think she's from that area.
Oh, okay.
That's why she was at that event. And they were saying that after this event, we're hoping to see more, which I do. I hope we see more of her because...
How old is she? She looked really young.
She was younger. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm not sure her age. Yeah, okay. But her game was good, man. Like she had so much control over her drives.
Absolutely.
Like, oh man, dude. And she had distance. She's small, but she had some distance.
Dude. It was reminding me of like a younger Paige Pierce. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like just crushing drives,
and bombing them.
Tiny thing.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah. So up until, again, this is another person that actually had a chance.
Yes.
Okay. A chance to actually win. I want to say she could have gone into playoff with Missy and King, right?
Absolutely.
However, okay, so on hole 18, on the left-hand side, the last hole, left-hand side, there is an OB line, okay? Yes. It is painted. There's some discussion over whether paint versus string is better. That's probably personal preference, right? Personal preference. But where her disc came to lie, okay, so this is where I think moving forward,
okay,
specifically because of this situation, and this can be for everybody, right?
Okay.
Any player that is in this situation, though it is very rare, I think moving forward, there should be no card calls. Card calls, when making a call on a card, if you're close in position and that call can benefit you as a player, you should It's conflict of interest. I think from now on, at least, okay, maybe not now on because the rules are in place, right?
All right.
Next year, officials, if there are any controversial situations, an official should come over and make that decision. I would be fine if the official came over and said out, in, whatever. I would be fine because that is an official making that call, not the card where you're so close that you could actually, by making a call, not saying that anybody did this.
I was about to say, Nick, are you calling the players liars?
I am saying there is a question in that call.
I get what you're saying.
Because if it benefits you to where you could then overtake that person by making this call, again, conflict of interest.
Because the
you
rule
should not be able to do that.
The rule is, it specifically states, if the majority of your card says it is one way versus the other, that is the way that it is ruled. Yeah. In this particular case, since all of those players were tied for a possible win,
or at least in their area, in that
does
section.
Present a conflict of interest, right? Which is why they don't let you play with just two people on a card because of conflict of interest. You could game the system. With all of those people tied, they have more of an incentive to call that bad.
And if there's a question,
right,
it should go to the player. And in this situation, if you look at and we posted a picture of this as well, and a bunch of people have posted pictures of this because this is like the OB gate, right, for this event, right? There's always something, right? That disc, when you zoom in, people were saying that there were white pieces because they spray painted, right? So there were pieces of grass that were painted white that were on the inside of the disc. But the thing is that a disc can bend those over, right? Yeah. Which means that it could be touching the white ones on this side, but it could also be touching perfectly plain green ones on this side to make them in. Just because there is a blade of grass that is white that is on the inbound side does not make that OB. Does not make that OB. If it pushed it over, that should be considered in because it's moving that line at that point. The line has moved, which it shouldn't move, right? Because the line's the line.
Yeah.
I think that this was a horrible call on the card. I think those three players should really think about why they did that. 1. 2, if it's questionable, just give it to them. Like, come on.
Me personally, if I was there and I was like, man, that is so close, I can't tell, I'd be like, hey, you know what? What do you guys think? You guys can't tell either? Up to you.
And
man.
that's what happened, and that's what they called, and she did kind of argue her side, but again, like you said, 3-1.
3-1.
I think at that point, actually, she should have called an official over, because I believe an official can overrule.
I don't know.
I think
maybe
because I know that there have been situations where the card's been blah 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 blah. Maybe that's more of a 2-2, and then the official confirms. Maybe
I'd have to like look that up. I'm not for sure.
But I think moving at least in 2025, I think there should be no card calls anymore. I think officials need to at least on the tour. Officials need to be making those close calls because it's just not. To me, it's not fair.
If it's a controversial call, if there's some kind of benefit, one way or the other, then yes. Because if you switch to totally just card, I mean that's going to slow non-card officials only. That's going to slow it way down.
How many of those situations pop up in one event?
That's what I'm saying. When it's like when there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
During your normal round, if there's no conflict of interest, let the card call it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's fine too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely that needs to change moving forward because had she been in, I think that she would have gone for the island on 18 and there would have been a possibility for a 3-way playoff.
Maybe.
Not saying for sure, but at least there's a chance. You're not taking that chance away.
Yeah.
Also, another thing I want to say, that rock wall around the back side of the island on 18, don't leave gaps between rocks. That is such fluky. It's such a fluky situation in which a disc could roll, which they did.
Yeah.
Austin Turner, I believe it was Austin Turner, had a disc. He missed the putt, I think, and it hit and it rolled between two of those stones and ended up being OB. Come on, that's so inconsistent. I mean, that's not a consistent like layout. Like
even and the only way I'm like, the only reason I'm arguing with this is because like when we get over to the the MPO division, there was a wall behind, what is that? Was it 15?
It's one 16, the island?
16? Yeah, the
island. Yeah, the wall.
Wysocki comes in, right? Or well, first I think it was Heimberg through.
Oh yeah.
Right? It hits the wall and it comes and bounces into the center, right?
Yeah.
Wysocki throws, it hits the wall, but it bounces into the water.
But I think he hit grass before wall.
Either way, they both hit that wall and they both got a very different response off of that wall.
And it's
so even if it is a consistent barrier, there's inconsistencies with it.
And that's fine. But as long as the actual item isn't the inconsistency, the reaction can be inconsistent. But the fact that there's a possibility and there's an inconsistent layout of that feature, to me, I see those as two different things.
I don't really think that a requirement of a disc golf course should be uniformity. I don't really think that has any kind of real bearing on the play of the game, like other than your fluke chance that something falls in between a cement barrier or a rocky barrier. That's
another reason why they've started doing the whole line of OB and those signs. They put a gap between them now, because there were situations in which when that line was right up against it, right, that disc could lean up against and it was in against those signs, or it could slip between. That's another thing that they've had issues with those signs, because they move. Discs can hit and slip back behind. So now what they did is they pulled that out of bounds area in, so it's very obvious as to what is out of bounds and what is not. So the line is consistent. It's a solid line that shows out of bounds. To me, those rocks are the out of bounds, and they are an inconsistent border.
I think you're
picking it apart.
The lines between consistency and uniformity. And I don't think those are the same thing. If I have one tree on the right, I have to have one tree on the left.
No. That's an obstacle. That's different. To me, a tree is different.
What's the difference between a man-made obstacle and a nature-made one?
Well, because the rocks were the OB. They used those rocks as OB, so there should be a consistent border, not gaps. If they're using a rock, like you said, a disc comes in, right, and it hits this rock here, and it stays in, but it hits this gap here and it goes out.
Yeah.
That is an inconsistent OB border. To me, if you're using it as a border, that's a functional item on the course.
I guess we'll just agree to disagree.
No, that's fine.
Because if your disc comes in and hits or doesn't, I mean, that's kind of luck of the draw.
I don't like that fluky part of a funky roll that's the thickness of a disc, and the disc somehow finds a way to sneak through that little crack, especially like on hole 18, man.
I'd rather be lucky than good. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right. And then let's see here. What else? Oh, the 3-hole playoff. So getting to that. So this event, they introduced a playoff when in the past, at the end of a playoff, if there's a tie, automatic sudden death.
Yep.
However, what'd they do?
3 rounds.
3 holes.
Or 3 holes, sorry. Yeah, no rounds. Wow. That'd be so punishing. Like, I'm not sticking around to watch that. I don't want to play that either. No, 3 holes. And I thought it was good. I like the feeling of that. I don't remember watching the other way though. So like actually watching it happen the other way.
I think that was before we started the show back up.
But I think I would like this way better anyways. Right? I mean, one way is quicker than the other, I guess, but
can be. Yeah.
Could be. Yeah. I don't know. It's like comes down to the 3 holes, and then you'd go into the sudden death, right?
Yeah. Yeah. After the 3 holes, if it's still tied, then they would do 1 hole sudden death at a time.
I guess just depending on the holes that you pick, it could be over relatively quickly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was really cool.
I liked it, though.
A really cool new way to finish out. Yeah. And then, okay, so how this ended for FPO, because MPO was much more simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But FPO, so leading up to this, what was it, 17 you said?
Yeah.
What happened on 17 with King? King had, Gannon went OB, or she got a bogey or something, right? Where in the end, leading into 18, King had 2 strokes.
Yes.
But King's upshot, because she had 2 strokes, her second shot, she cleared over the water in the first shot.
Right.
Second shot, she laid up, right? So that she had an easy shot up to the island.
Right.
Gannon had
I think it came over and went OB, I think is what happened, right?
Well, Gannon
didn't slide
had
over.
that cross shot, didn't she? To get it onto the island early?
Yes. Yeah.
She went for it and she made the island early. However, she did make the island early, but she was out a ways.
Yes.
It was not a gimme putt.
Right.
And then again, King, I think she gets 2 in her head in these situations, and she just completely fluffed her upshot right into the water. She was like 2-3 feet short.
Yeah.
Like it was a bad shot all around. That was just a bad upshot. I felt for her because she had a 2-stroke lead. Right. But then she had to throw. She threw it up there. She missed her putt.
Yep.
Which gave back those 2 strokes to Missy.
They tied it up.
And they tied it up, and they went into overtime. Yeah. And then again, it happened again. I think it got into her head that she missed that upshot.
Yep.
And she ended up, Gannon ended up draining it, and
there you go.
Taking that big win. You're taking another win for this year. Because she already won the USW DGC.
Yes, she did.
And now she has a tour event. So shout out to Missy on that.
Absolutely.
On MPO, there was a very dominating player.
Finally, I would say.
Where he closed it out.
I have been hearing this name, being tossed about all year, and I have yet to see the winning of this particular person. Which by the way, okay, they started out, and it was very much Heimberg Wysocki.
Yes.
I want to say Wysocki might have been in the lead.
I think he had a stroke over.
Yeah.
I think he had 1 stroke.
And then it came down to, I think pretty early on, might have been hole 3. Yeah. It was hole 3. Wysocki messed up once, and it was all over since then.
What was crazy?
They both messed up on 7, but then Heimberg was always ahead.
No, but what was crazy about that is every time Heimberg messed up, Wysocki did also.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't take advantage of the bad shots that Calvin made.
But Calvin, unlike he has been doing pretty much all year, his putts were dead on in this final round. He was nailing them. Some crazy putts too. And it was like but he was much more aggressive.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like he was very aggressive about a lot of his gameplay, even when he didn't need to be. I think the announcers were giving him kind of like guff, like, what is he being so aggressive for? He doesn't even need to be. Hi. And the doggo decides that she agrees. But super aggressive, but he was nailing these things. Even when he was out of position on a couple of holes, didn't matter. He was like, nah, I'm just going to go for it then. And he'd make up for it by parking it.
Dude, and his drives and his drives have always been very straight, dead straight like that. But he has a rocket. Right. He's just got an arrow of a drive. His drives are so straight, and they go so straight for so long. And his putts look so almost lazy of how he putts. He has a flick to his hand that he just.
What's funny is every time and it's probably like his concentration, serious like face, right? Where He's like, okay, I got to concentrate. I got to do this thing. And he's, mentally preparing himself to do whatever. But every time he gets up to drive, I look at this gentleman and I'm like, he just looks so unimpressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, the internal dialogue for me that I'm projecting over the top of him is like, disc golf. They think I can't drive.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. Yeah. That was good. That was how it was supposed to be. Yeah.
And even when he misses something too, he's kind of like, whatever, I'll just make the next one.
Like, yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'll make the comebacker. I don't care.
You wind, you wanted to blow me out on that? I'm not impressed. You could do better. I've seen better. Like, there's just kind of like, the look at the guy. I'm like,
he does. That was one thing that I didn't like about him when he first started coming on the scene was there was no personality. But when you see him outside, see him outside, there's a ton there. You just don't see it usually
he's being
during
serious
tournament,
and concentrating, right?
Yeah.
But just the look on his face is he's like,
Yeah.
Like very unimpressed.
It's like a chore. It's just like, well, I got to do this.
Oh, tip for you too. If you're watching, because of course, why wouldn't you, Calvin? You watch the disc golf show. Everybody knows that.
Always.
Chapstick. Get some chapstick.
Oh yeah.
Pretty chapped out there, buddy.
Yeah. Some people were saying, yeah.
Get some chapstick, buddy. It looked painful. I was like, oh man.
But yeah, so your FPO winner, Missy Gannon, MPO winner, Calvin Heimberg.
And they were saying at the end, and I haven't double checked this stat. They were saying that he's been the player of the year for 2 years, but this is the first tournament he's won in a year.
It's been just over a year because I think it was Jonesboro of last year he won.
That he won, and that's the only one that he's won.
Yeah, but also I think the other thing was that he's won a Pro Tour event 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
So he has had a win on tour 5 years in a row. And then they were talking about how many years in a row, what's the record of that? Oh. Because obviously Macbeth's up there.
Right. I want to say, do you know what
too.
His driver is that has the yin and yang?
Oh, that I don't know.
I've seen it all day, and
I know he throws.
Cool. I don't know what line it is.
Millennium.
Is it Millennium? Okay.
And he throws Innova, obviously, which is the same.
Yeah.
Same line of or same company makes both.
Right.
But yeah, Falcor.
Is that it?
It might be.
Don't
quote me on that.
It was cool though.
He rockets, dude. I love seeing those drive. Oh, there was one thing there was like we were talking about spit outs. There was a horrible spit out for Wysocki. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
It was dead. That was one of them where to me it looked like it hit that ring, and the ring kicked it back out because that was so solid of a hit. That was way too many chains for that to pop out.
Right.
And that was man, dude.
Was this the tournament that dude got the ace too? Yeah, it was.
Yes, big shout out to Chris Clemens.
Yes, I watched that
hole 16.
I was doing some work and I looked up at the right time.
Which did you notice? Whoa! Did you notice the next round he threw backhand on that hole?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
no,
I'm like, I was learning. I was like, two thought processes. One is, why don't you go for that? Worked, right?
I mean, that worked really well.
Throw it again, right? Obviously, there may be more wind, so he didn't want to do that. The other one is, did he just go backhand so he could try to get both?
I mean, I would. Why not? Why not?
He's got a set on him if he did that.
I mean, that'd have been amazing if he did.
But good job on that ace. That was so solid. That was sweet to watch. Love seeing aces on that island hole.
Absolutely,
because that's 320. One of the quotes from somebody was, "This is the longest 320-foot hole that they've played," because literally the basket is what 5 feet from the water.
It's
4 feet from the water.
Yep.
So, and then that is another update that they did. They moved that drop zone.
Yes.
So before, I don't know if you remember, on the right-hand side, before you get to the bridge, there's a little spot that kicks out. That's where the drop zone used to be.
Yeah. I think
where they put over the water. Yeah.
They were showing footage of that. Yeah.
But they moved it to the back right corner of the island for a comebacker where you're putting directly at the water. And almost, I want to say all the ones that I saw, there may be one or two people that actually went for it from there. But most people were just laying it up.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you can see what the price of failure is on the other side.
Insane. Oh, Macbeth was up there.
Yeah,
for a while too.
He was. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing his name up there again was kind of cool.
And he has made some videos and clips where he's saying he's starting to feel much more comfortable back to where he kind of was. So that'll be interesting as the year unfolds.
Yes, it will.
But yeah. So I don't know if I want to. Okay, let's move to the question of the episode.
Okay, what you got?
Well, I already have an opinion on this. Everybody probably knows my opinion on this because we've talked about it.
Have we talked about it on the show before?
Maybe not. Maybe we've just talked about it to each other.
I don't remember.
Okay, so comment down below. Do you have a preference when it comes to how many rounds a Disc Golf Pro Tour event is? Do you think a 3-round event is sufficient, or do you think it should be 4 rounds? Or do you think that majors should be 4 rounds and tours can be 3 or 4? And why? I think, because I love watching it, 4 rounds. A tour event, any Pro Tour event and major should be 4 rounds, in my opinion. Again, that's just an opinion, but
after watching it this year, I'll agree with you. I probably before would have said I kind of like 3. 3's fine. 3's good. 2 would be even better. But now that I've gotten kind of into watching it a little bit more, I'm like, maybe they should do 8 rounds.
8 rounds, yeah. Well, hey,
rounds back to back.
Back in the day, I think Worlds.
Oh, yeah, was it really long?
Used to be 7 rounds.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and
I'm not really for that, but 4 rounds is good.
Per our local pro shop, the reason why it's called a Final 9 Sports is because there used to be a Final 9.
Oh, okay.
That the leaders would play.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's why they're called Final 9, which there are no more Final 9s anymore.
No, they're not.
But personally, I think a solid 4 rounds is a better test for the players. Again,
absolutely. Yeah.
It's just, I
think it really just comes down to me wanting to watch more.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Versus because 3 rounds is really fine.
Well, actually,
I don't really see any problem.
Here's another question.
But I would prefer to watch 4.
Here's another question to add on to this. How do you feel the play was to watch at Champions? What's it called? Champions got renamed.
Oh,
the course. Champions Landing.
Yes.
Compared to other events that you've watched so far this year.
The dynamic discs.
Yeah. How does it compare the play style and viewing it? As a
me, I really didn't have a problem with it. I liked it just as much as maybe some of the other courses, and because I think there was enough action to keep me there. Right, there was enough people messing up, even though it's wide, flat open, but you're still shanking it. Like
the wind,
the wind was definitely a factor. So I think there was enough drama there to keep me entertained. Because there wasn't as much technical stuff. There was a little bit of force technical with that island shot, which was definitely interesting to watch as people were just
that's a great
splashing
hole.
That's
a great hole to have on that course.
Oh yeah, it's such a
it's iconic.
Like it just gets in your head. Like I'm not even playing it. I'm like, oof, But I know early on, like in our fantasy group, people were like, ugh, I don't want. This is gonna be boring, but I don't think it was. I think.
Well, also did you remember watching DDO back in the day? Or Glass Blown Open, I should say. Do you remember that? That's the same event.
Vaguely remember. Yeah, Glass Blown Open.
Which they brought those trophies back too.
They did. I saw that. Yeah,
the globes.
Blown globe. Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
Those are pretty cool. Yeah. I do, but it's like a distant memory, so I don't remember it very well.
I don't know. I think it was still fun because, I'm so used to watching that event. Yeah. I've watched it for 10 years, or however long it's been going.
Right.
I think I think there can definitely, now that it's private owned, I think there's definitely some big changes that can come. I think there's definitely some other variations that could be played for DDO that would make it more interesting.
They can always mix it up. I think,
the other thing, they mentioned this, the flags on the baskets, they were nautical flags.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that those flags did not move, at least that one, the ones that they had on top, which that's a suggestion for you. The flags on there only moved up to 25 miles an hour winds. I think that's what it was. Might have been 15, but I want to say they said 25. Okay. Either way, I think what they should do is if you're gonna have that up there, put the different weighted flags so that you have one that moves at 5, one that moves at 10, because those are nautical flags. They have the different weighted flags, so they know the wind. I think that would be a good feature to have at that course, those open courses where the player doesn't have to go, how fast, which is part of the game. I'm not against it not happening.
Sure.
But if you're going to have a weighted flag that doesn't move up until 25 miles or even 15, like 5 miles an hour is a significant enough breeze.
Yeah.
So if it's not moving, then they could be sitting there going, oh, it's 14 miles an hour or it's 7 miles an hour, which is a huge difference between how you're going to make that putt, depending on your putting style. So I think if you're going to keep those nautical flags up, do the variation versions where there's one that's at different levels of wind. I think that would be interesting too.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Either way, Either way. Leave it, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
It
was kind of cool to see. But yeah.
That's an interesting feature, though.
Yeah,
I don't know of any other courses that have nautical flags on them.
I haven't seen one yet.
So can we just skip over this next one?
No, Ken. You know who you are. He's leading again in the fantasy league. How are your fantasy disc golf leagues going? Let us know in the comments down below, or shoot us an email to gloat about you leading your own league.
Yeah, your league name. Yeah, let us know your league names.
Yeah, league name. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I want to know. Ours is the Puttcasters. So
I think it's pretty cool.
I think it is good. I think it is too. So Ken, congratulations, you win yet again. Also, check out Ken Putt on Instagram, and then again we'll leave his website linked down below if you'd like some disc golf coaching, and you can get the same coach I have and you can learn along with me. I think that marks the end of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Alrighty, so before we get there, a couple of things to save you guys some money if you want. DiscDrifters.com, use the code DiscGolfShow, all one word altogether, to save yourself 25% off a select property. So if you're planning your next trip to follow the disc golf tour, you want to plan out that hotel, you want to plan out that airfare, you want to plan out that road trip, save yourself some money. Use the code DiscGolfShow for 25%
they did have an update
off.
on that too.
Oh, okay.
They've actually included event stuff now.
Ooh, event stuff.
Course stuff too.
Nice.
So there's some new features that they're adding to the website. So
beautiful.
Keep your eyes peeled for
Check that out.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. If you're in the market for maybe some disc golf bags, you could probably head on over to Upper Park Disc Golf and save yourself some money while you're there picking up your disc golf bags and swag. Use the code DiscGolfShow to save yourself 15% off of Upper Park Disc Golf stuff. They are out of... I just got an email from them. They're out of one of their bags, and I can't remember which one it was. I wrote it down. The Shift. There you go. They will be back in stock in, I think, June or July. So it's coming back in stock. But if you're looking to get one of those, hold off. They're out of stock, but they will be back in stock because it's one of their more popular ones. This show was brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their 2 locations, one in Orangeville and one in Rockland. Support local. You should do it because it's what you should do. And support them if you're in this location. If you'd like to contact us, shoot us an email at theshow@discgolfshow.com with your inquiries. If there's anything in today's show that you did not like, or you have any opinions that were counter to ours, nick@discgolfshow.com is where you send those lovely communications.
Please.
So until
come at me.
You would thoroughly enjoy it if you did. So if you're watching on the YouTubes, make sure hit that subscribe button and that like button. We're almost We've almost made our next target. What is it? 15?
15. And we're going to do a giveaway.
15K or 15.
15K. Yeah, we'll definitely do a big giveaway.
You shoot us up to 15K. I'll give you his shirt.
1,500.
That's right.
What?
Look, it's going to happen. It's for the good of the show. Okay. I know we didn't talk about it, but that's what's going to happen. But 1.5, I think, is what we were.
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500, 1.5.
We'll do a giveaway.
We're going to do a giveaway. So look for more information about that on the Facebook page whenever we hit that. So I think that does it for the end of the show. And remember, in disc golf, as in life, aim high and let it fly.